Rise Up Weekend, and thank you for having me here today. I'm Congresswoman Lucy McBeth, and I am thrilled to join you as we continue our work to make sure that every American has their voice heard. I want to thank the Andrew Goodman Foundation for their tireless efforts. And I want to thank all of the student leaders who are doing the hard and important work of ensuring that the next generation of young people have a voice in our precious democracy, and that they remain passionate about exercising their right to vote so that we can build a better future for all of us. Truly, we have already seen what each of you can do. We have seen the power of a group of young people and the power that they can have by being enthused and engaged in the political process. In my home state of Georgia in 2020, we witnessed record turnout and unprecedented results. And that effort, that excitement on the ground here in Georgia, drove historic change. And it is change that will have real, long-lasting results if we continue to ensure that the vote here in Georgia and across the country remains free and fair for Americans everywhere. During the 2020 election, young people just like you, all across the nation, made sure that your voices were heard and that your votes were counted. You stood up, you spoke out, and you demanded that our leaders do what is right and what is just. You helped America usher in a new era of faith and hope, and have demanded our nation redouble its efforts to turn our aspirations into real effective change. And that is what we need here in Washington. We need to make sure that we do all that we can to create a safe and sustainable future for our children and for our grandchildren. I watched my own son, Jordan, grow up right here in Marietta, Georgia. And he reminded me so much of all of you. He was a caring, compassionate young man, dedicated to making the community around him a better place to live. And I was doing my best to teach him all that I could, teach him to care for his friends and his neighbors and to stand up for what is right. But on Black Friday in 2012, Jordan was sitting in the back seat of a car with three of his friends as they stopped at a gas station for some chewing gum. A man pulled up next to them and complained about the loud music that they were playing. He argued with them, calling them thugs and gangbangers playing their thug music, he called it. And within 3.5 minutes, he grabbed his gun and fired 10 shots into the car, hitting Jordan 3 times, killing my son. And yet Jordan was only 17. I felt that injustice for months, for years. And for months, and yes, years, I prayed out to God. And in those prayers, I really found the strength to forgive my son's killer, as, according to God, I was commanded to do. He may have taken Jordan's life, but he could never, ever take his legacy. This would not and could never be the end of my Jordan's story. I made a promise that I would act and that I would stand up for families like mine here in Marietta, Georgia, and for families all across the country who are terrified that one day they're going to send their kids to school and they're never going to see them come home again. Terrified that one day they could be me. And after watching the tragedy unfold in Parkland, after I watched children the same age as Jordan, the same age as many of you, streaming out of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, their hands raised in the air in fear and disbelief, I knew I had to do more. So I stood up, like so many of you all, to demand that those in power do more to protect our children and our families. And as we have seen throughout the 2020 election and beyond, young people just like you, continue to fight for the policies that you believe in, that you know will help end gun violence and protect the planet that we live in, and create a fairer, more equitable, and more just society for generations to come, your generations to come. So as we celebrate the anniversary of the amendment that gave 18-year-olds the right to vote, we must rededicate ourselves to the promise that the voice of every American truly matters, and that access to the democratic process this nation was founded upon cannot and must not be infringed. It's so important that we all continue to stand together to make sure that voter access is protected and that every American has the opportunity to fight for the change they believe will make the world a better place. And so I rise up with all of you here today to protect the backbone of our democracy, to protect our free and fair elections, and to protect the right to vote. Together, we must continue to organize, and we will continue to mobilize, and we will continue to lead the fight to protect and uplift our democracy. Thank each of you for the work that you are doing. Truly, it matters. And truly, the world will not change. America will not change without the efforts of young people just like you. Thank you, and God bless.